Most people realize they're dealing with a narcissist 6 months too late, after the bank account is drained, the friendships are ruined, and the self-esteem is gone. But clinical psychology shows that the red flags aren't hidden, they're just ignored. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to show you how to perform a psychological stress test that strips the mask off a manipulator before they can finish their first drink. If you've ever felt like you were losing your mind in a conversation, you weren't crazy, you were being hunted. True narcissism is much more dangerous than people know. It's a predatory pattern of behavior that can dismantle your mental health before you even realize you're in the crosshairs. Narcissists follow a rigid subconscious script, and once you know the lines, they become entirely predictable. Today, we are stripping away the mask of the dark triad. Stick around for the final sign, because it's the only test a narcissist will always fail no matter how good an actor they are. Let's point your inner compass toward the truth. Test 1, the love bomb frequency. The first sign of a narcissist isn't cruelty, it's an overwhelming, almost suffocating level of affection. In the world of social intelligence, this is known as love bombing. Within the first few minutes of meeting, they will try to fast-track intimacy by claiming they've never met anyone like you or that you are soulmates. This isn't actual connection, it's an attempt to overwhelm your nervous system and bypass your logical boundaries. Psychologically, they are mirroring your own values and interests back to you to create a false sense of safety. They study you like a subject, looking for your deepest insecurities so they can position themselves as the solution to your problems. This phase feels intoxicating because it triggers a massive dopamine spike in your brain, similar to an addiction. However, notice the pace. Real trust is built in layers, but a narcissist wants to build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand. If the intensity feels disproportionate to the length of time you've known them, your alarm bells should be ringing. They aren't falling in love with you, they are falling in love with the control they are gaining over you. An authentic person respects your space, while a narcissist views your space as an obstacle to their agenda. Watch for the we and us language used prematurely in the conversation. It's the first step in eroding your individual identity to make room for their ego. Sign 2, the hero or victim narrative. Listen closely to the stories they tell about their past. A narcissist is always the protagonist, but never the villain. In every anecdote, they are either the grandiose hero who saved the day or the perpetual victim who was betrayed by crazy exes and jealous coworkers. This is a key indicator of narcissistic personality disorder, the inability to take personal responsibility. They lack the psychological maturity to admit fault, as their ego is too fragile to handle the concept of being wrong. When they talk about their past relationships, pay attention to the lack of nuance or empathy for the other party. If everyone in their history is a villain, the common denominator is likely sitting right in front of you. They use these stories to test your empathy. They want to see if you will rescue them or validate their distorted reality. This is also a form of triangulation, where they compare you to these horrible people from their past to make you feel special and compliant. A healthy person has a balanced view of their history, admitting their own mistakes and growth. A narcissist's history is a curated museum of their own perceived perfection and others' failures. Sign 3, boundary testing. By the midpoint of your interaction, the narcissist will begin to perform small boundary probes to see how much they can get away with. This might look like a nagging comment, a backhanded compliment designed to lower your self-esteem, or a small, intentional violation of your physical space. They are looking for compliance. If you set a small boundary, like saying, "I'm not comfortable talking about that yet," watch their reaction with laser focus. A healthy individual will apologize and pivot. A narcissist will gaslight you, tell you you're too sensitive, or mock your boundary. This is the dark psychology of the empathy test. They are measuring your exploitability. They need to know if you are a grade A source of narcissistic supply, which is the attention and validation they crave. They will often interrupt you or talk over you to assert dominance in the social hierarchy. Notice if the conversation feels like a tennis match or a monologue where you are just the audience. Their goal is to diminish your presence so that only theirs remains. If you feel a sense of brain fog or confusion during this phase, that is a physiological response to their manipulative communication. Trust your gut over your ears. If you feel like you are being interviewed for a role rather than engaged in a conversation, you are dealing with a predator. If this is helping you make sense of a confusing relationship in your life, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm that this mental health resource needs to reach more people who are currently being gaslit. Sign 4, the empathy void test. The final and most definitive test is the empathy void. Narcissists can mimic empathy. They've spent years practicing the right facial expressions, but they cannot feel it. To catch them, bring up a neutral, mildly distressing event, perhaps a news story or a minor struggle a friend is having, that has nothing to do with them. Watch their eyes. An authentic person will show a genuine micro-expression of concern or curiosity. A narcissist will quickly bring the topic back to themselves or show signs of boredom and irritation. They view your emotions and the emotions of others as background noise that distracts from their main frequency. This is where the mask slips. If they cannot find a way to make the tragedy about them, they will minimize it or offer toxic positivity to shut the conversation down. Their lack of effective empathy means they are fundamentally disconnected from the human experience. By the 10-minute mark, if you feel drained, confused, or strangely invisible despite all their earlier praise, you have your answer. You aren't looking at a person, you're looking at a mirror. The best move now isn't to confront them, it's to go gray rock and protect your energy. Your inner compass has given you the signal, it's time to walk away. One of the most telling signs you are dealing with a manipulator occurs in the subtle shift of the power dynamic during the middle of your conversation. You might notice that while you started the interaction feeling confident and energized, you are suddenly starting to second-guess your own words or feeling in strange pressure to justify your lifestyle. This is an intentional psychological tactic where the individual uses subtle condescension disguised as helpful advice to make you feel slightly off balance. They want to see how quickly you will move into a defensive posture because a person who is defending themselves is much easier to lead and control. Pay close attention to whether you feel the need to prove your worth to this person even though you only met them moments ago. That phantom sense of inadequacy is usually the result of their projected superiority, a silent frequency they emit to test if you will naturally fall into a subordinate role. Beyond the words being spoken, you should look for a lack of genuine emotional consistency in their facial expressions and body language. A person with a healthy inner compass has a natural synchronization between their tone of voice, their hand gestures, and the look in their eyes. However, because a narcissist is essentially performing a role, there is often a microscopic delay in their emotional responses that feels uncanny or robotic. You might see them smiling with their mouth while their eyes remain cold and predatory, or they might express sympathy with words that don't match their relaxed and indifferent posture. This cognitive dissonance is your intuition screaming that the person in front of you is wearing a mask rather than showing a soul. When you stop listening to what they are saying and start watching how they are saying it, the illusion of their charm begins to fall apart almost instantly. The final realization usually comes when you try to end the interaction or shift your focus away from them. A narcissist views your attention as their property, and any attempt to reclaim your autonomy will trigger a subtle but visible flash of irritation or a sudden attempt to pull you back in with a dramatic statement. They cannot handle being a background character in your life, even for a few minutes, because their entire sense of self is built on the constant feedback they receive from others. If you mention that you have to leave or that you need to take a phone call, watch for an entitled reaction or a passive-aggressive comment meant to make you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. This inability to celebrate your independence is the ultimate proof that they see you as an object to be used rather than a human being to be respected. Once you recognize this pattern of entitlement, the mystery disappears and you are left with the cold reality of their true nature. Recognizing a narcissist is only half the battle. The real victory is becoming the kind of person they can no longer influence. If you felt a chill of realization during this video, it means your inner compass is finally waking up. Don't let that signal fade. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to join a community of people who choose clarity over confusion. By subscribing, you aren't just following a channel, you're committing to a sharper, more unshakable version of yourself. And if you've already survived one of these people, drop a compass emoji in the comments to show others that there is life and strength on the other side of the mask.